3:15 a.m. Moscow. A 14-foot carbon fiber shadow known as the AN-196 Liutyi is screaming through a wall of heavy machine gun fire just 100 feet above the Kremlin Senate Palace. If the 165-pound high-explosive warhead detonates a fraction of a second too early, it is a $200,000 failure. But if it penetrates the center of the gilded dome, it shatters the myth of Russian invincibility at the very heart of the empire. This heart-stopping moment actually began 6 hours ago, over 600 miles away on the Ukrainian border. This isn't just a routine strike, it is a strategic retaliation for the 450 drones and 71 missiles Russia launched into Ukraine's power grid just 24 hours ago. While the Kremlin remains arrogant, boasting of a fortress Moscow that no weapon can penetrate, the Frontline has just arrived at Putin's doorstep. On the operator's screen in Ukraine, the tactical map is a sea of red. The S-400's Big Bird radar is sweeping the horizon out to 250 miles, and Pantsir S-1 batteries are on full alert. But the Liutyi is utilizing a pre-calculated zigzag flight path based on 2 weeks of intensive reconnaissance, specifically designed to exploit the radar blind spots created by Moscow's high-rise architecture. To ensure success, it is leading a swarm of 12 Ghost FPV decoys, each weighing only 4.4 pounds, designed to overwhelm and confuse Russian fire control computers. The world is watching as high-stakes negotiations take place in Abu Dhabi, but in the frozen Moscow air, the math of asymmetric warfare is already settled. 3:12 a.m., the 96L6E Big Bird radar, the high-altitude eyes of the Russian Aerospace Defense Forces, finally filters through the urban clutter and detects 7 low RCS flickers moving at 90 feet. Inside the Moscow Air Defense Command Center, the order is instantaneous. UAV targets confirmed, activate layered response. 8 seconds later, 3 Pantsir S-1 batteries positioned to the northwest of the city activate their hotshot fire control radars. They don't wait for visual confirmation. 2 57E6 missiles roar off the rails, accelerating to Mach 4 in under 2 seconds. One of the Ukrainian FPV decoys is instantly vaporized over the MKAD highway, sending a shower of burning composite fragments and black smoke into the snowy night air. The remaining swarm members immediately drop their altitude to a death-defying 50 to 60 feet, weaving between the luxury apartment towers to break the radar locks. But the Russian response is professional and layered. As the drones approach the Tverskaya district, 2 Tor M2DM systems, optimized specifically for tracking small, agile targets at close range, snap into action. They launch a flurry of 9 M338K interceptors. These short-range missiles are surgical. 3 more Ukrainian decoys are shredded in rapid succession, their wreckage tumbling onto the empty boulevards below. The Ukrainian operator's screen is pulsing with red warning icons. Only 9 drones remain in the formation. Meanwhile, the Russian Special Air Defense Regiment is already on the move, shifting its mobile command vehicle from Kutuzovsky Prospect to a secondary hardened position to avoid a counterstrike. On the ground, the perimeter is hardening. Russian radar operators have switched their systems to priority low alt mode, ignoring the broader sky to focus entirely on the narrow corridors between the buildings. They aren't just reacting, they are hunting. The Moscow shield is beginning to tighten its grip, and the fierce one is running out of decoys to throw into the fire. 3:13 a.m. The remaining swarm members dive into the densest part of the Moscow city center, utilizing a tactical maneuver known as urban masking. By weaving between the massive 300-foot-tall skyscrapers, the drones are effectively using millions of tons of reinforced concrete as a physical shield against the S-400's 92N6E gravestone radar. This is where the billion-dollar Russian defense net meets a fundamental limitation of physics: multi-path reflection. In a wide-open field, radar is a hunter. In a city of glass and steel, it is a victim of its own signal. The radar waves bounce off the buildings, creating dozens of ghost targets for every real drone. To the Russian fire control computers, it looks like the sky is filled with hundreds of intruders, each moving at a different speed. It is like trying to catch a single fly inside a hall of mirrors while someone is flashing a strobe light in your eyes. The AN-196 Liutyi circles at the edge of the chaos, its 165-pound high-explosive warhead primed and ready. Its operator in Ukraine watches the Russian telemetry data stutter. The Pantsir S-1 is a formidable system at 12 miles out, but at a distance of 500 yards inside an urban canyon, it suffers from logic lag. The system's processor is simply overwhelmed by the task of tracking more than 10 low-altitude, high-speed targets simultaneously amidst the massive environmental interference. The Russian commanders had spent decades preparing for a high-altitude nuclear exchange with the West, but they never prepared for a 660-pound carbon fiber fierce one playing hide-and-seek in their own backyard. The arrogance of the Moscow fortress is becoming its own Achilles heel. 3:14 a.m. The Ukrainian operator executes a final desperate split of his remaining forces into 3 specialized tactical groups. Group 1, consisting of 3 FPV decoys, accelerates down Novi Arbat, intentionally increasing its radar signature to act as a high-visibility bait. Group 2, 4 FPVs, dives into the narrow Presnensky alleys, attempting to thread through the back streets at 100 miles per hour. Group 3, the AN-196 Liutyi and 2 long-range support drones, hangs back in the southeast waiting for the defensive screen to fracture. But the Russian Aerospace Defense Command is no longer falling for the circus. At 3:15 a.m., a Tor M2DM battery positioned on the Sadovoye ring achieves a thermal lock on Group 2. 39M 338K missiles roar into the night, their proximity fuses obliterating the drones near the Kyiv railway station in a trio of orange fireballs. The Ukrainian operator's screen flickers with connection lost icons. He is down to just 6 FPVs and the primary Liutyi. "We're losing too many," he shouts to his team. "The layered defense is tightening." The Russian command has correctly identified the decoy and penetrator pattern. They issue an immediate priority order. All Pantsir S1 and Tor units are to ignore high-altitude targets and focus entirely on low-speed, low-altitude signatures. The Kremlin Guard and Spetsnaz units go to Level 1 combat alert. Armored Typhoon U vehicles block every entrance to Red Square, while Zu-23 2 anti-aircraft cannons are wheeled onto street corners. Infantry teams on the ground unleash a chaotic wall of fire with PKM machine guns and AK-12S. One decoy is clipped by a 23mm shell over Manizhnaya Square, spiraling into a parked car and creating a secondary explosion that fills the street with thick, oily smoke. This is the moment for the Ukrainian ace. The operator orders the remaining decoys in Group 1 to push their electric motors to the absolute breaking point, screaming directly toward the Pantsir batteries to force them into a reload cycle. Simultaneously, the Liutyi and its 2 support drones execute a pre-planned feint toward the Cathedral of Christ the Savior, mimicking a suicide run on the religious landmark. The Russian batteries instinctively rotate their turrets south to intercept. In that frantic rotation, a critical 8-second defensive gap opens in the southeastern corridor. It is a mathematical sliver of opportunity. The Ukrainian operator slams the throttle forward. The AN-196 Liutyi banks hard, its 22-foot wingspan slicing through the frozen -15-degree air as it lines up its final run on the Senate Palace. The defense is overstretched, the ground teams are firing blindly into the smoke, and the fierce one has just found its doorway. 3:17 a.m. The gold-plated domes of the Kremlin Senate Palace are now filling the UJ-26 Liutyi's thermal feed, glowing white-hot against the -15-degree Fahrenheit night. The drone is no longer a ghost on a radar screen. It is a 660-pound physical reality screaming toward the center of Russian power at 180 feet per second. Below it, Red Square has become a cauldron of fire. Spetsnaz teams on the rooftops of the surrounding government buildings have deployed DSK heavy machine guns, their .50 caliber tracers carving long green arcs through the snowy air. Inside the Ukrainian bunker, the operator's screen is vibrating violently as the UJ-26 Liutyi fights through the turbulence of nearby explosions. A nearby Pantsir S1 fires a final desperate burst of 30mm high-explosive rounds. The shrapnel from a near miss peppers the drone's carbon fiber skin, and for a split second, the video feed glitches into static. The operator's knuckles are white, his teeth clenched as he fights the flight controller to stay on target. But the Trojan Carnival strategy isn't finished. The last remaining FPV decoy executes a high-speed suicide dive into a Zu-23-2 anti-aircraft position near the Manezhnaya Square entrance. The resulting explosion creates a massive cloud of black, oily smoke and magnesium glare that momentarily blinds the Russian optical trackers on the Senate roof. This is the 3-second window of total chaos the operator has been waiting for. He pushes the AN-196 Liutyi into its terminal 45-degree dive. The drone's engine is at 110% power, the brushless motors screaming as the airframe hits its aerodynamic limit. Through the smoke, the gilded roof of the Senate Palace looms large, a billion-dollar target protected by a defense net that has finally been outplayed. The Spetsnaz guards on the roof are firing their AK-12s in a blind frenzy, but physics doesn't negotiate with small arms fire at these velocities. The countdown hits the final 3 seconds. The operator centers the crosshairs on the apex of the dome. In the Kyiv bunker, the screen snaps to black, the final, silent confirmation that the Fierce One has reached its destination. The standing ovation in Moscow is officially over. The math of the strike has been finalized. At exactly 3:20 a.m., the terminal dive of the AN-196 Liutyi reaches its explosive conclusion against the roof of the Kremlin Senate Palace. The 165-pound high-explosive warhead doesn't just explode upon contact. It initiates a surgical sequence of structural decapitation. The tandem charge physics perform with terrifying precision. The precursor jet vaporizes a hole through the reinforced steel and 18th-century masonry in a microsecond, allowing the main 75-kilogram payload to detonate deep within the upper tiers of the building. The result is a localized apocalypse. An overpressure wave of 10 pounds per square inch, enough to liquefy internal organs and shatter reinforced concrete, screams through the halls, instantly neutralizing the Kremlin's primary command and secure communications hub. The destruction is a masterclass in the science of the smash. In a confined space, the blast wave acts like a high-velocity sledgehammer, treating the palace's internal walls as mere suggestions. As the gilded dome erupts into a 4,000-degree Fahrenheit fireball, the shockwave shatters every reinforced window in the Kremlin complex, sending a rain of lethal glass shards onto the snow-covered red square. This wasn't a random act of chaos, it was a calculated strike on the very brain of the Russian state. The immediate aftermath is a portrait of total imperial panic. Within minutes, the myth of the Moscow fortress evaporates into the freezing -15-degree air. Putin is rushed to a hardened emergency bunker, and the Russian High Command enters a 72-hour state of total operational paralysis. Their secure lines are dead, their pride is shattered, and the world is watching the smoke rise from the center of their power. The strategic math of this $200,000 strike is the ultimate asymmetric victory. By piercing the heart of the capital, Ukraine has forced the Kremlin into a catastrophic dilemma. To protect every government rooftop from the next Fierce One, Russia must now pull hundreds of Pantsir S-1 and S-400 batteries away from the front lines in Ukraine and redistribute them around Moscow. Every shield moved back to protect a palace is a hole opened in the defense of the occupied territories. Ukraine has proven that ingenuity, a 7-second tactical gap, and a composite drone can bankrupt a billion-dollar defense network. The Frontline has officially reached the Kremlin, and the cost of the war is finally being paid in the currency of Russian prestige. Moscow is burning, baby! Who said Russia was untouchable? If you want to see more deep strikes on the symbols of power, hit that like button and subscribe. Bye for now!